We're still in the season and the mood and the spirit of democracy for Nigeria. And today, and we know that that has been facilitated by the sacrifices that the late MKO Abiola was able to make by fighting for his mandate, and also because of Kudirat Abiola, Alaja Kudirat Abiola, who also supported and frankly did a lot in fighting for that mandate. And so I have with me right here Mr. Olaliko Abiola. Good to see you.
Yes, no, thank you very much.
You bear the name Olaliko Abiola. You're the son of the late MKO and Alaja Kudirat Abiola. There must be a lot of burden carrying that name.
Not well, the benefits or the blessings, I guess, is greater than the burden.
Okay.
So I don't really consider it a burden. I mean, I was born into the family, so it's part of me. So I cannot imagine myself being not me. I cannot imagine a life not being me. Everybody has been born, and everybody has their own name, their own family background. When you grow into it, so it's part of who you are.
Oh, okay. So what are your fondest memories of the two of them?
Well, both of them were like excellent parents, and also we come from. My father was polygamous, so we had like 4 wives in this house, with each wife having their own children. So it was a very big family, So you had lots of things going on in the family. There's always issues, disputes.
Okay.
There's also like fun playing with your siblings and things like that. And my father was rich, I guess, so we actually enjoyed.
You guess? Does that mean that you did?
So we actually enjoyed that. So we actually enjoyed. It was a good. I think it was a wonderful childhood. Seriously. I mean, like I remember, I used to read in the papers about austerity in the 80s. I was like maybe 10, 11, 12 years old. So I read about austerity and things like that. And I was like, oh, I remember asking my dad, Daddy, this austerity, how come we're not feeling it? Because our life never changed.
Yeah.
We'd still travel, we'd have all the benefits of what we're living. So I was like, well, I'm reading about austerity, that the economy is not doing very well in the papers, but we're not feeling the impact. So
as a family.
As a family, we lived our life. It never really affected us, which I guess is a blessing,
Perhaps that was why I asked the question around burden, because having enjoyed that sort of childhood, do you in some way feel a sense of burden to want to continue to live that exact lifestyle all over again?
I remember there was one time we were going to London for holidays, and my mom, and she had 7 kids and 2 house girls. So it was my mom, 7 children, that's 8 people, and 2 house girls, that is 10. And we were all sitting in first class. And in first class, maybe they have like 17 seats.
That was in the 90s, 80s.
Yeah. And so one man now said to my mom, why are you putting all these small children inside first class? I mean, it's like wasting your money. These are small children. What do they know? Why don't you just put them at the back, in the economy, and maybe you, the mother, can stay in first class. Why would you put all these 2-year-old, 3-year-olds, 5-year-olds into first class? And I remember my mom telling the man, but that's the ticket their father bought for them. So it was like my father was very good. People talk about, some people are good outside.
Yes.
But inside they are mean. And some people are mean outside, but inside they are good. My dad was someone that was good outside and inside. So those of us in this family were enjoying him, and those who could meet him from outside the family were also enjoying him too. He was a very generous person to everybody. That was the kind of person he was by himself. So we benefited a lot from what God blessed him with, inshallah.
All right. Did you have any conversations specifically around the state of the nation that may have prompted his decision to eventually run as president?
Yes. When he wanted to run, I was in the US then, so he called me up and he said that I should meet him at the airport. He was going to fly in.
You were pretty old at that time?
I was like maybe in my 20s, early 20s, maybe 21, 20, 21. So he called me up, he was in New York, and he's coming to Washington, and I should meet him at the airport. He's coming with his own plane, so I had to meet him at the special where the private jets land.
Right.
So when he landed, he didn't come down, I entered the plane. So he said that he came to tell me personally that he's running for the presidency. So I now said, Daddy, like, why? You know? And I remember telling him, I said, Daddy, Allah has given you everything, Allah has given you good health, given you wives, given you sons, daughters, wealth, and the Nigerian people love you, and people in Africa love you already. I said, Daddy, if you become president, they're going to blame you for roads, blame you for the economy, blame you for crime, blame you for electricity. And I said, at the end of it, the Nigerian people will not love you the way they love you now. So I don't see the upside here. You already have your money, you have everything. So why would you want to put yourself in a situation where at the end of it, people are going to be now pointing fingers at you? Oh, MK will not do this, MK will not do that. I'm like,
you foresaw that Nigerians could be like that.
Yeah, of course. That is the problem. The Prophet Muhammad said, peace be upon him. He said that the first thing you get out of leadership, the first thing is blame. Once you're the leader, you're going to get blamed for everything. Even as a husband to a woman. Anything that goes wrong in the family is the husband's fault, basically. Oh, your man didn't do this, he didn't buy enough petrol for the generator, he didn't pay the school fees on time, he didn't do this. So you as the leader, the husband, you're going to get blamed. That's in your own house, talk less of the whole country. So I'm like, and Nigerian people love you so much. It was very popular. I remember we went to one function in Benue State with Babangida then. I remember when they mentioned MKO's name, the whole crowd, MKO, and when they mentioned IBB's name, the president IBB, and people were just like, boo. I remember they were not as enthusiastic, let's say, as they were when they mentioned MKO. I remember looking at IBB's face, at Babangida's face then, that day, and I could see like it was like a frown. Like, why is it that the people are praising MKO, shouting his name, whereas me, I'm the head of state, and they're not giving me that kind of welcome. So it was more popular than any of these people back then. So I knew the kind of love that Nigerian people had for him. And I was more concerned about that love being eroded by him becoming the president. Because if you are not the president, no one blames you. If MKO does something for sports, or MKO does something for sports, if MKO build a church, or MKO built a church, they will say your good side, but they will not blame you for any issues regarding the society. But once you become the president, now they're going to blame you now. Like look at Buhari. Look at how they abused Buhari. And look at how they've abused Jonathan. When he said one time, remember Jonathan saying that he was the most abused president in the world. But when he won that election, everybody was so Jonathan. But once
it took charge,
immediately anything that goes wrong, they're going to blame you for it. So this is something that we know as Nigerians, as people, that once you become a leader, you're going to be criticized. They're going to look at you, look at your family. They're going to actually put you under a microscope, and they're looking for any mistakes. And once they see it, they're going to publicize it. So I didn't really want him to become president. I was not. In fact, when the day of the election, I was in America then. I remember I left my apartment, and I went to my friend's place for like 2 days. I didn't call anybody because I wasn't happy. Like, oh God, why is this man good for this thing? Oh, wow. So I wasn't happy. So I didn't want to hear anything about it. I just left my house. No one knew where I was. And I went to go and stay with my friend for 2 days. I didn't call anybody. They didn't make any calls. There was no mobile phones then. When I now got back to my apartment, I now called my mom. Okay, mommy, how was the election? So the election was on Saturday. So I'm calling her now on Monday. You say, okay, mommy, so okay, what happened? She's like, well, we did well. The election was good. Your father won the election, but when I heard "but," I said, what is it now? Like, okay, daddy won the election. Okay, alhamdulillah. But what?
Yeah.
Or the thing that the president, they have not yet announced the final result. They are delaying announcing. I said, why are they delaying announcing? So that was when I knew that there was a problem, And then obviously they now finally annulled it. And
the election. Yeah, and that brings me to the question of, up till date, everyone is still wondering why exactly was this election annulled.
Exactly.
I think a few days ago, I was listening again to another interview by IBB, and he said, oh, God keep me alive. I'm going to explain this to Nigerians, because Nigerians are not saying it from the angle that Abiola and I used to be friends.
Best of friends.
So are there perhaps things that you were aware of that perhaps a lot of Nigerians do not know that may have played out and may have led to that annulment?
Well, I think
or perhaps things that you heard after?
I think that my father's biggest negative for him was that he was always at the forefront. And whoever is at the forefront, they're going to catch the bullets, right? If they're going to be a war and you're at the front of the soldiers, any bullet that's coming, you're going to get hit. So whoever is at the front should prepare for the harrows, so to speak. So my father was the first person really that stood out to say, okay, let's take power from the military. And taking power from a group is not easy. You see, so even if IBB personally would have wanted to hand over to my father, they were very close. So he would have personally, I believe that he would have personally wanted to hand over to MKO. He would have wanted to.
So you completely absolve
not that
IBB.
I absolve him, because at the end of the day, as the leader, you are the president or head of state. Whatever happens is your fault.
Perhaps his life was involved.
Yeah, I'm saying that. I'm thinking that what happened is that other people in the government did not want to hand over to MKO, not IBB. IBB wanted to hand over, but you are just the president. You are the head of state, military, but there are other military men who are also influential in the government, and you cannot just basically just decide on your own. So those other people, like maybe Abacha, other people, they were not interested in handing over power at that time. And I think that Abacha, I think it was the chief of army staff, so he probably had control of the actual soldiers. So you like, if you're the head of state in the military government, you might not be in charge of the soldiers. There's somebody else who is in charge of the army, somebody else in charge of the air force, somebody in charge of the navy, chief of air staff, chief of naval staff, chief of army staff. So I think Abacha was chief of army staff. So he was actually in control of the troops. So if the chief of army staff is telling that, look, man, I don't know about this thing you're doing, because and if he had gone ahead to force a handover, I think he said it one time that if he had not annulled it, that they would have killed him and my dad, and there would have been something like it would have been a palace coup.
Yeah,
they would have taken him out probably, and then come for MKO eventually. So he knowing what he was facing, we cannot know what he was facing. So but I think that people within the military at that time, some of them were not interested in handing over power to the civilians, and they were the one that told him that if you go ahead, that this is what's going to happen, and he had no choice but to think about his own life. Basically, I think that's what happened.
That particular episode has become a major part of Nigeria's history. Yes. Either we write about democracy in Nigeria or not, that is a watershed in Nigeria's history. And seeing how all of that played out, in hindsight, do you think you would have felt better if your mom did not go all out to support your dad's interest? Perhaps should still be alive today. Would you have preferred that?
Well, the first thing is that as Muslims, part of what we have to believe in, it's not enough to say you believe in God. There's also other pillars that you have to believe in, and one of those pillars is destiny. That there's a destiny that God has written for every human being. So the day you're going to die is already written for you, and the circumstances under which you will now die is also written for you. So once something has happened, you cannot say, well, if she hadn't done this, if she hadn't done that. No, there was nothing like that. What happened it was the destiny. You can't do anything about that. My parents, my mom, she was the second wife, and for most of the marriage, she was the second wife. Up until 1990, when my father's first wife died from cancer. So at that point, she now became the first wife to my father. So you can imagine a woman that's been married for more than maybe 20 years. And for those 20 years, you've been second. There's always a woman ahead of you. So there's a limit to how much influence you have as in that kind of situation. Now, you are now the first wife now, you are the one, and she and my dad, they had a very strong bond. I think she had the most kids for him, 7, and she even lost 2 childbirth, so she meant to actually have had 9. And she has been with him. They married. She was 19, late 19, just before she became 20 when they got married. So basically, and my uncle was telling me the other day how she had already gotten admission into university, and everybody was happy that she's going to university when she now met my dad. And next thing you know, she's not going to university anymore. She's now becoming a wife, and how angry he was. that my younger sister, who was already gotten admission to university, instead of her going to university, going to go and marry one Alaji, she wasn't happy. He was so angry that he refused to even attend the wedding because he wanted her to go to. So she's been with my father since she was 19. She's been married to my father since she was 19 years old. And she had all these children for him. And it was not always an easy marriage for her because my father married other women after her. So you can imagine, you marry somebody and then next thing, this man has so many other women after you, So that was a sort of friction between them, So it was not like as if it was a smooth marriage like that. Yeah. It had its ups and downs, But at the time that my father ran for president, she grew up in Zaria, so she spoke Hausa very well, fluently. So she was one that was doing a lot of the campaigns up north. So she was actually part of the campaigning. She would go to different states and call women together, and so she became like as much of a politician as he was. My father didn't speak Hausa. My mom was the one that would go to the north and be talking to the women, and women are very influential in getting numbers. Yeah. So she was a big part of the project for him to become president. So this was also as much as MKO's triumph. It was also our own too. Like my husband, I'm going to help my husband become president of Nigeria, and I'm going to. And they wanted to do something good for the Nigerian people, because it was not about the money. Once you have your money, other things become important. Yeah. If you don't have any money, then your issue then you get money. But once you have money, then other things become important. Like what can I do to better the people, and what can I do to improve the conditions of my people? So once they annulled it, the injustice of it, it woke up a part of her that maybe we never even knew. That's why I said during that speech I gave on June 12th that it was not the plan that we would be fighting government or my mom would be killed by government. This was not what we were thinking.
I remember that a part of that address, there was a part where he said there were calls for you to take out of Nigeria.
Once, you see, that's why it's, once you enter, let's say that Yoruba will say, Ibere Jalamo. Like we know the beginning of the war, we cannot know the end. The beginning of the fight you can know, but how this fight will end you cannot know. So once you've entered a struggle like that, now she could not step away from it anymore. Once I remember when my father was arrested, she followed my dad in the car. They took him in his car to the police station. She was following him. Then when they got to the police, he said, "Okay, madam, wait, we are coming." And they took my father through another route, out of the station into another car and to the airport and to Abuja. So basically, she was like, "See, where's my husband?" Yeah, you're thinking Abuja. How, so this is what they had to basically sneak my father away from her, because she didn't. So then I said they came to pick him up here, and she was just sitting down here. No, she entered the car. Wait, why you are taking my husband? You are taking me too, and they basically had to sneak my father away from my mother at the police station. You see, so she was. So then my father was locked up. As she saw it as if she was the one that was also locked up. So when we were telling her, "Mom, come to America, just leave this wahala, leave this struggle." For her, it was like, you are insulting, you are saying your own. Me and this man, no.
There was some deep bond of love and affection at display there.
May Allah help us to have at least one wife that will love us the way she loved my dad. That's what a lot of men look for, and you will never get it. You probably never get it. A woman that would put everything on line for you. A woman that would. I remember my father would come home sometimes at 2 in the morning, and he's hungry, and he has 4 wives in this compound. He's only going to come here to this particular apartment and knock the door for my mom to cook for him. She'll get up, go to the kitchen, she'll make a bar, she'll cook, and the man will sit down in the parlor, and he's asleep, and she's cooking the food. And when the food is ready, she now wakes him up. I remember I'm seeing with my own 2 eyes. And how many men can you say that you can come home at 2 in the morning? Where you come from at this time?
At this time.
And then you still get up without saying a word, and you cook for the man, and the man will finish the food. Oshego, and you go upstairs. This is the kind of respect and love that she had for him. So when it came down to it, she wasn't going to leave the man. Not only my mom was rich. She had businesses, you know. She spent almost everything. She spent almost everything. Not like as if this is our own money, you know. She's spending. And my brother, I remember, mommy, wait, man, no, man, I can't spend all that money on daddy. Are you the only wife? No. But she was totally invested, you know. So we thank God.
Let's take a detour a bit and look at present day 2023. We have Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who is now president of the country. He used to be a member of the same political party as your father. And then there's this famous picture of him being at the back while the late MKO, and then I can't remember if it was Sani Abacha or Babangida. We're talking together. And recently, we've had a lot of references, people saying, he's the greatest protege that your dad had. I'd like you to, in insight, go back a bit. Let's see if there's some flashback, and then how much of Bola Ahmed Tinubu's influence and impact in helping to sustain your father's struggle do you remember?
Bola Ahmed Tinubu, see, like I said earlier, the destiny is something that we have to believe in. So all the people that my father could have taken to go and meet Abacha that day, there are many people we could have taken. When my father comes downstairs, there are like 100 people. All of these, some of them are senators, some former governors, some former House of Rep members, some chiefs, some traditional rulers. So there are people that will follow my father to meetings. So anyone could have gone for that meeting with my dad. It didn't have to be Bola Ahmed Tinubu. But the fact that Bola Ahmed Tinubu was one that went that day, and the picture of that event was taken, and it was right there, that tells you that at some point God knew that this man is going
that was like a coded message.
Yeah, like I'm telling you this for the future. Look at this, and so it was always part of the struggle. I remember he used to come here, and my mom would take him upstairs, because if you enter this house, it's not just easy to enter this house and go and see MKO. You can't just go upstairs. So either you come to the house and then somebody has to take you through the security to see my dad. So Bola Ahmed Tinubu will come here, and it was my mom that would take him. As Senator Oya Ejalo, I should take him to see my dad upstairs. Also, she's one that will cook for him when he comes. He would want to eat anything, and so they had like that kind of closeness. When he wanted to escape from Nigeria when he was going abroad, it was my mom that helped him organize a way out with a car to go through Seme border to get out of the country. So my mom was part of him also leaving the country. So, and when he got to the United States, he used to help us with the protests. We would organize protests, he would attend, he would finance those kind of moves in the United States for the democracy, and also for other democracy activists that ran away from Nigeria. So he's played a very massive role.
Because there are those that think that his role is now being amplified beyond normal, perhaps because he's now president.
No. We've gone to met him when we're in the US. We'll go to his house for meetings on this matter. We'll plan demonstrations in Washington, D.C., in New York, and things like that. When we're trying to get the street named after my mom in New York, he was also part of those that was part of the people that helped us to agitate to the New York government that they should name in June when Lekan Abiola corner in New York. So he played a key role in democracy.
All right. So now let's take a look at the difference. Hope 93, renewed hope 2023, farewell to poverty. He has referenced that all over again. And when you take a look at some of the plans and ideas that the late MKO talked about, stylishly socialist in style, and then you have a 2023 Bola Ahmed Tinubu who is seen as purely capitalist, difference in ideology. How do you marry that? What do you think may have sparked that evolution?
Okay, one thing that a lot of what Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the president, is doing, if you look at it, it's like he's following the MKO with the Muslim ticket, as example. Muslim ticket, MKO did that, so Bola Ahmed Tinubu also adopted that. MKO won the election with the Muslim ticket. Bola Ahmed Tinubu won election with the Muslim ticket and things like that. We also picked a vice president from Borno. My father
Kanuri.
Kanuri. My father also picked a vice president from Borno, Kingibe, also Kanuri. So he has actually is a wonderful protege. Like he followed my dad a lot in a lot of what he does, and he succeeded by the grace of God. He's now the president of Nigeria. Now you talked about Hope 93, then renewed hope. So yes, it's a lot of he's trying to use the imagery of the MKO campaign to also boost his own. And but you see, Nigeria today has changed. I don't think Nigeria can afford to be socialistic anymore. Look at the debts that we have. The federal government is so indebted. Like, where's the money from to go into hardcore socialist enterprising, trying to it's very difficult now for the Nigerian government. You have to remove subsidy, not because we wanted to make Nigerian people suffer. The fact is that even Peter Obi said I'll remove subsidy. Atiku said I'll remove subsidy because they knew that the Nigerian state cannot bear the burden anymore. We're in debt already. We cannot afford to spend money subsidizing petrol. So I think that even if you wanted to be socialist, because he's a person that believes in social welfare. He's also he's a rich man. He's a man that is very generous too. So he has the feeling of generosity in him. But so no man like that wants to become president and now put people to hardship. You want to actually become president to alleviate hardship, but you have to be realistic. The Nigerian state cannot afford certain things anymore. So that's why he has to change a lot of policies to boost the economy. We have to boost private sector now in Nigeria. The days of government employing people anyhow is over. In fact, we have many states in Nigeria today that most of their allocation or most of their IGR is going towards paying salaries of workers. So where is the funds from today? Say government should hire. Who hire who? They can't afford to hire anybody anymore. Even the NLC, Labour Congress, they now want an increase in salary.
Yes.
So by the time they now increase salary for the workers they already have, where would they have money to say they want to hire more people? So he has to focus on boosting this private sector that will now lead growth and create employment. The government cannot do it again.
All right, so let's move away slightly from that and talk about, since 1999 and 2023, we've had 23 years of consistent democracy, but Nigerians annually, daily, perhaps almost every minute, condemn the style of leadership. They say, our leaders are bad managers, they are poor managers, they are not as humane as they would expect them to be. That's perhaps an entire far cry from the kind of imagery that your father painted. When you look at things now, some say it's not even any different entirely from what it used to be back in those days. But what is the biggest problem so far with Nigeria and the kind of democracy and governance that we operate?
I think structurally, when I left Nigeria in 1989, we had, I think, 19 states. I came back and we had 36, something like that. That's ridiculous. We have now a Senate and a House of Rep. Every state has a House of Assembly. I think that the cost of governance is very high. We have a very expensive government. I don't know what we can do about that now at this point.
Is it expensive because it's Nigerian? Because if you go outside of Nigeria, for instance, the United States, they say they have around 50 states.
Yeah, but you see, if you look at in the US or in the UK, if you look at the cost of the governors in the US and the cost of the House of Assembly members, let's say in the US, that's like maybe they spend 15-20% of the government budget on the government.
The government in Nigeria would argue for the same thing. For instance, the National Assembly will tell you that it only takes less than 3% of the entire budget in Nigeria, and so
but
it's
I'm
unfair.
Yes, 3%. But if you look at, when you talk about government, look at the bureaucracy, the civil servants. How much are they getting? Like I remember I was talking to former governor of Osun State, Aregbesola, and he said his allocation was to be like 3 billion every month, and he was paying salary of like 2.5, right? Then allocation went from 3 billion to 1.6. So he said the first 2 months of that he was borrowing from a bank to get to 2.5 to pay salary. He did it for the first month. He did it for the second month. He now called the labor people, come look, this is what I'm getting from Abuja, and this is what we're getting from IGR. And this is the salary bill. Look at it. These are the numbers. Look at the numbers. I cannot afford to keep paying full salary to you people. So you say they're paying half salary, you know, and people are abusing him. But what is supposed to do as a governor? IGR, number one. Number two, what's coming from Abuja? Add up together. These are the numbers. So all the money is now going towards paying just salaries alone. Not only for the assembly in Osun State. I'm talking about even the workers of Osun State. Say if all my money goes towards paying workers in Osun State, then I'm not going to do any roads, no schools, no healthcare. So that was when I say the cost of governance, meaning that not only for the governor and the House Assembly members, but the cost of even the bureaucrats, the people in the civil servants, even at their cost. Now they want to increase salary for those people. There will be nothing left for the governors to do for roads or development.
No, but let's take a look at governors that employ countless numbers of personal assistants, special advisors.
You see, again,
recently Keyamo said the Minister of State position is useless because they basically don't do much. They have to rely on the minister. All of those positions.
Because the constitution says that every state must have a minister. That means that automatically you're going to have 36 ministers. And now, how many ministries? You don't have 36 ministries. So you have like even 13 ministries. And then you have 36 ministers. So someone but the Minister of State, basically deputy minister, basically. You know, so there's nothing that the president can do about that. Unless you want to create 36 ministries to give each state its own ministry. You know, and it will just split the government to bits. So I think that maybe we have to like maybe look at that, at the constitution, really. But which is difficult, but we have to look at it, you know, to see whether we need 36 ministers, really. Can we have like 16, 15 ministers? Why must every state? Why can you say 2 ministers per zone? Then that is or 3 per zone. That would be like 18. That would make some sense, you know. Why must that every state must have a minister and things like that? So the constitution has made it very. Even now, every local government must have a commissioner, for instance. Again, so even at the state level, the commission, if you have like 20 local governments in your state, you must have 20 commissioners. Do you have 20 ministries in that state? You don't. So now it's going to be some deputy commissioners too, basically, you know. So we have made it very complicated and very expensive. So by the time, so now what we are seeing is that governors and presidents have to actually go and borrow money to actually do any kind of capital expenditure.
Okay, so beyond cost of governance, what else do you think is the problem in Nigeria?
Security. You know, we're a country of 20 million people. We have like maybe 100,000 soldiers. When I say 100,000, I mean that 100,000 that actually carry guns. So you can say, oh, well, they have 200,000 in the army. But how many of those are actually that actually carry the guns? So if you have 100,000 soldiers in Nigeria, you have Boko Haram in Borno State, not only Borno for Yobe. Then you also have bandits scattered across Sokoto, you have bandits in Kaduna. So the soldiers are spread thin, you know. So, and now, the killings, you have bandits taking over areas and saying like, if you don't pay us money every month, you cannot farm. And then they now kidnap, they must now pay ransom. And wait a minute here. Without farming, agriculture, and without mining, there's not going to be any economic growth in Nigeria.
So you believe more in farming and mining more than crude oil?
Everybody knows that the crude oil is about to be over now. How much are we producing? We're only doing 2.1.
But they've had some explorations around the Lake Chad area.
No,
there are more places where they are being explored at the moment.
Look at this country, Libya. Libya does like 2 million barrels a day. Kuwait does 2 million barrels a day.
Yeah.
Nigeria is meant to be doing 2 million barrels a day. Kuwait has a population of like 3 million people. Libya, population of 5 million people. Nigeria has a population of 200 million. So your 2 million barrels a day ain't going to do anything for you people. It cannot help us. It cannot really help us. We're not going to become rich based on our crude oil. Because 2 million barrels a day is what we're producing here. What we are meant to be producing. We're not even doing up to that. We're actually doing like 1.5, 1.6.
Yeah, 1.3 sometimes.
Yeah, 1.3 sometimes. So even if you are even doing 2 million, look at the population. 200 million Nigerians. For Kuwait, that 2 million barrels a day is enough for them. How many of them are there? In Libya, only 5 million people. It's a big country, but it's desert. Nobody is there. They have like 3 million, 4 million Libyans. So there are 2 million barrels a day. They can live well on that. They are not many people. But you Nigerians, we are 200 and something million. Abba. You know, so for us, it's agriculture, mining, manufacturing. This is what's going to get us out of this mess. Now, if there is no security, if bandits are attacking the farmers, Then will you go and farm? No, will you go and farm knowing fully well they could be kidnapped? You ain't gonna farm now. There are lots of people, IDPs. Look at Benue State. What's happening in Benue State or Plateau State? This is Benue State is the breadbasket of Nigeria. If there's no security in Benue State, rural areas, then we're not going to be producing a lot. We're going to lose. We need security in the rural areas, not in the cities. Lagos is probably okay. Ibadan Central is probably
crime too in Lagos,
but not as bad. Not as bad as what's happening in the rural areas. Look what happened in Niger State the other day when they kidnapped almost a whole village, and they did videos. They showed videos like if you don't pay ransom, we're going to kill them. This is what is happening now. You tell me now, if you are in that area, won't you leave? You ain't going to farm. We need agriculture. We need mining. Mining takes place in remote areas. Are you going to invest, let's say, 100 million naira with some engineers, mining engineers, and equipment? Will you do that to somewhere in the depths of Plateau or in the depths of Kaduna where there's some minerals? Will you go there? Will you risk your people? You won't risk it. So we need security if there's going to be any economic growth. Without it, there's nothing going to happen.
Okay, so I was thinking perhaps you were going to mention corruption, but
Okay.
you
Now,
skipped that part.
no,
I don't know if you skipped
not that I skipped it. Look,
or you just
my brother,
deliberately left it out.
if your wife needs 10K or something to buy gas, to buy rice, to buy meat, to buy tomato, she needs 10K. You not give her 8. Are you going to accuse her of chopping? You can't really accuse her of stealing from your 8K, because even the 8K you gave her was not even enough. Like, how much are you paying this policeman? Maybe 50K a month. This is a man that has a wife, has children, has to pay school fees, has a mother in the village and everything. You're giving him 50K a month. You know for a fact that 50K a month ain't going to solve this man's problem. So if man now stops you on doing and say, oh God, something anything for the boys, and give him 200 naira, 400 naira, yeah, complain about corruption. Come on now.
But how about the corruption in high places? We see the scandals almost on a daily basis.
You see, now, when it comes to the ones at the very top level of the corruption, like, I don't know, you see, a lot of people say things, and I don't like to call people's name. If somebody has been charged with corruption, let the courts deal with it, and then when it's convicted, we can now say, oh, he was convicted, as opposed to somebody saying that, oh, Sam, they appointed you as minister and you're corrupt. Oh, another saying, oh, Sam is corrupt. No, if there's a charges against you, let them take you to court, for instance, and then be convicted first before we speak. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because anybody can be charged, be accused of something, but without any clear evidence or without them being convicted. And that's the problem in Nigeria right now. Most cases, you charge a governor for corruption, and 6 years later, 7 years later, they have not yet convicted. So why do I call a man that's my father's age or someone older than me and start abusing him, saying that you are corrupt, when he has not been convicted in a court of law, right? Because we're meant to be innocent until proven guilty. This is the issue I'm talking about that day, that the court system, the criminal justice system needs to be overhauled. If there's a case, I don't understand, why would the case take 5 years? Why would they catch, like when they caught this Evans, that kidnapper, it took like almost 8 years. For what? The evidence against Evans, you had the evidence from day one. Within 3 months, you have convicted him guilty or innocent, whatever. Why would it take 8-9 years? And now they've sentenced the guy. I don't know what they sentenced him to, but even if they sentenced him to death, they were not going to kill him. We don't kill kidnappers anymore in Nigeria. We don't kill armed robbers anymore. We don't kill bank robbers anymore. We don't kill terrorists. We don't kill anybody.
And you think that emboldens them?
Definitely.
But why won't the governors sign off on the death
The
warrants?
only governor that has signed a death warrant was Oshiomhole. I think he's standing for 2 people or 3. He was the only one.
In recent times.
In recent times, since democracy came back 99, he's the only one. He's the only one. All the other governors, I have to say that they are cowards. They are refusing. So maybe they have to change the law that they should move this thing from the governors to the president. Let the president want to sign it.
How confident are you that the president will sign it?
I think Tinubu is a very tough man. If the law says that you should kill an armed robber or a kidnapper or a terrorist, and he will sign it. Tinubu is a
Or
strong
perhaps
man.
you should have a law that mandates the governors to sign.
But if the law already say that pay death penalty for this. Why would the governors refuse? They are actually, by doing that now, they're going against the law.
Perhaps they are highly religious and feel, they should not be condemned to judge somebody else.
Islam, all these religions have death penalty provisions in the books. You cannot be more merciful than God. If you are a Christian, Abi, I'm a Muslim. So it's illegal for me to be a kidnapper or to be a terrorist or to be a bandit. It's illegal. It's haram. It's also forbidden for you to be like that too. Treat your brother the way you want to be treated, right? Okay then. And if you should not go against your religion, or I go against my own, and my religion says that for some crime, it's a death penalty. Nigerian state, the law in Nigeria for kidnapping is death. Yet you will not sign. This is what's annoying me. People that killed my mother, like I said that day, they are all walking free. If Lekan Abiola, a prominent Nigerian, can be shot dead in broad daylight, and the people that did it will not be brought to justice, Nigerian government cannot do it. You will not give this woman justice. Then who will get justice? That's the issue now. And if nobody gets justice in this country, I said it back then. I said, look, if you don't hold the people that killed my mother accountable, this thing is going to spread. And very soon now, you people are going to be crying. And you'll not find justice for your own people. Allah said in the Quran, whoever kills a human being, one, without justification, it's like you have killed everybody. Once I can kill somebody and get away with it, then I've killed everybody. Because now what's happening now? Oh, the other day, they killed like 40 people in Benue State. We read it here now. Just under Tinubu, 40 people were killed in Benue State. Who killed them? We don't know. Was anybody arrested? Nobody. Will anybody be convicted? Nobody.
So effectively, if the governors, if Mr. President says, those that have been sentenced to die, let's sign off on them and let's kill them, just as the law or it has been prescribed by the judges or by the law, you think that is effectively going to send a warning signal, and that would perhaps curb the levels of insecurity we have now?
I'll give you an example. The train attack from Kaduna. The people that attacked that train, why did they do it? They said they wanted their Boko Haram brothers who were in Kuje to be released. These Kuje people who are in Kuje, they've been there for like 10, 12 years. So they attacked a train, killed like God knows how many people, kidnapped almost over 100 people, all because of what? They wanted their brothers in Kuje to be freed. These people in Kuje were meant to have been convicted for terrorism. They are meant to have been executed already. If they had been executed according to law, would they be alive for their brothers to go say, let's go and attack a train to kidnap people, to force government to release people who are meant to have been killed anyway?
So
basically, you keeping them alive. How many times in Kogi State they've attacked a prison? Any prison right now that you have Boko Haram people is a threat, because they're going to try to get their brothers out. So you're keeping them alive. You're not killing them. You are creating a situation where their brothers are going to want to attack those prisons to free them. So you're creating insecurity. You are creating a situation whereby they attacked a train, Kaduna Abuja train. They attacked a train to get these guys out. Don't waste time with these people. If you are found guilty of kidnapping or guilty of terrorism or guilty of banditry, execution. That's what the law says. Because why? Why should Nigerian government be feeding you?
It must definitely make you extremely angry that in some state governments have even resorted to negotiating with bandits and even rehabilitating them.
You see, the issue of rehabilitating, when it comes to Boko Haram, right, that is where they started this from, with Boko Haram. They just do a deal. Because when the Nigerian government, if you're not able to defeat your enemy in the battlefield, then negotiation might have to take place. If you can defeat somebody, they don't need to negotiate. If you cannot defeat them, now we thank God, under Buhari has done a very good job. He has reduced their power. But I think that a lot of the progress Buhari made was not even the Nigerian army defeating them. It was they themselves fighting amongst themselves. That has been more of an impact than I think what the Nigerian army was able to do. But whatever the case may be, You have to give these terrorists like a way out and say, look, oh, if you come out and you surrender, do you understand? We will not kill you or whatever to try to reduce their numbers. So I understand the Nigerian army doing that. That is a war strategy. That is a strategy of war. You have to create a situation where, because some people were actually forced to join Boko Haram. They don't actually believe in this whatever.
But don't you also fear that some of those who may come under the guise of rehabilitation
They might still be
and
actually
sabotage the system from
within.
inside?
But at least, like more than 20,000 of them have surrendered. Right? More than 20,000 of them with their families, they've surrendered to the Nigerian army and they have been rehabilitated. That is 20,000 people that are not shooting us right now. Do you understand what I'm saying? You know, I rather my enemy puts his gun down than us to act, because you know, if these 20,000 people, if we have to take them out on the battlefield, how many Nigerian soldiers are going to die to take out these 20,000? Do you understand? At least we're going to lose like 4,000 soldiers minimum to remove this, to kill 20,000 of them. At least 4,000 Nigerian soldiers will have to die. So if they can just surrender peacefully, we should pay that price. Do you know, I understand what you are saying, but as a war strategy, understand the Nigerian army saying, look, surrender will not harm you anymore.
Okay. Before I, came for the interview, I was checking out a particular story where it was reported that you said you had forgiven a couple of persons who were linked to the murder of the late Kudirat, Alaja Kudirat Abiola. There's Al Mustafa there. There is also quite a couple of other names there. I'm also aware that there is a case currently at the ECOWAS court against the federal government asking
Oh,
them to fish out killers. I'd just like you to
yes.
provide
Okay.
clarity
My
on
father,
those two
said that if a woman,
cases.
you know, if you cannot do anything, what can we do now as a family? The Nigerian government, they did a deal with Odun Obasanjo, with I think Mohamed Abacha, to return some money. And in exchange for returning that money, he would get his freedom. You know, that was basically the deal the Nigerian government did.
You sound like you have full evidence of that.
Yeah, because after that, he signed some documents, some monies were released to the Nigerian government, and the Supreme Court, Mohamed Abacha,
Okay.
and the Supreme Court now did the case and said he had no case to answer. So everything happened so quickly. You know, he signed the agreement. Do you understand? Next thing you know, the case was before the Supreme Court. Next thing you know, the Supreme Court said that he has no case to answer. And next thing you know, he's gone back home. And next thing you know, money from Europe and Switzerland or whatever was now being released to the Nigerian government. So there was a deal done that they will return some of the money that the father stole in exchange for his freedom. So the Nigerian government has basically wiped their hands off the matter. Basically, that's why nobody that was involved in my mother's killing is been charged. They are all been freed. They did a deal under Obasanjo that in exchange for money, because the Abuja government or the children could have kept fighting, they could have delayed the release of that money. You know,
You sound so much like you have evidence of all
no,
of
no,
this
no, no,
these things.
no. The Nigerian government they've received billions of dollars from the Abacha loot now,
Yes, but what
right?
makes you think that this is because of a deal that
No,
was signed to
because
let
if you know,
Mohammed Abacha
it's in the
go?
interest of the American or European banks to delay returning the money. If you keep $1 billion in the bank, if they can keep that billion for like 3 or 4 years, you know how much they're going to make from that. You know, so there is their own interest for these monies to be litigated. Time to pass. They're using the money. Money not just sitting there. They're using the money. Then after 5, 10, 15 years, they say, okay, here's the 1 billion back. But that 1 billion that they are giving back to, they made 1 billion from it. Do you understand? So if the Abacha family will sit down and do a deal with government, okay, we'll not argue. We'll sign off. Well, okay, then return the money to you. You know, you will save you time. Nigeria will get the money back. But it might take like 7 or 8 or 10 years. If we do a deal to you right now, you sign off the money right now, and you get your money tomorrow morning, you have saved yourself time and everything. So the deal was done, no doubt. You can go and research it. You will see that there was agreement to that effect. So the Nigerian government is no longer after the killers of my mother because a deal has been done that in exchange for money that the Abacha stole or kept abroad or whatever, that they will return this money. The Abacha family kept some, and they kept like some. They didn't return everything. They kept some, and they returned a large chunk back to Nigeria. And in exchange for that, they're no longer interested in the case. So at that point now, what can we as a family do? You know, as a Muslim, even if you convict them or they did convict them, the High Court in Lagos convicted them of the killing, but the Supreme Court that freed them.
Yeah.
You know, so once the Supreme Court has said there's no case, there is no other court you can go to in Nigeria to say no, we don't accept. So at this point, we just have to accept God's will and forgive. Because I remember I went to Mecca and I met Mrs. Abacha there. I met some of these children, and they said they invited me to come and break fast. We broke fast together, we prayed together, and they apologized. They said, "Look, all that happened has happened. You just accept God's will. May Allah forgive your father, my dad. May Allah forgive your mother. May Allah also forgive their own father, Abacha. May Allah forgive them. And it has happened, and we should just let it go,
Let it go.
And we're in Mecca, and we're all Muslims. We're like, okay, you know what, alhamdulillah, that's like a full life. So we hugged, and that was it. So I'm not like carrying like a grudge like that anymore. Because what can I even do? Even if I have a grudge, I'm upset, but what can I do? My mother is buried over there. No amount of anger can bring her back to us. So, and since Mrs. Abacha now said that we should just bury the hatchet, because we're actually close friends before. My father and Sani Abacha were close. My mother and Miriam Abacha were close. We're all friends before. And it's unfortunate that the the devil, Shaitan, and this world came between us. But so we're forgiving them, and we're forgiving each other, inshallah.
Tilting towards the end now, looking at the conversations you had with your dad, some of his own dreams that he put out, what kind of Nigeria do you think it would have envisaged in 2023?
First of all, I think that it was very adamant that we have to have energy. Like this house, for instance. My dad did a generator for us in this house that if the light went off when NEPA takes light here, we all say five, four, three, two, one. The gen kick immediately. And we had 24-hour electricity in this house going up. And unfortunately, my father would have wanted electricity to be 24/7 for the whole country, not just for his own house. So one of the main things he wanted to do was to make sure that there was energy, electricity everywhere. Because without energy, affordable energy, there will not be any growth again. This is part of apart from security. Without energy, there will not be any growth. We need energy. So I think that this is one thing that Tinubu has said that we will address. Under Buhari it has improved somewhat. Under Jonathan, he unbundled them into all these different. So there's been moves by the federal government
And now
to,
the president, Bola Tinubu, just signed the electricity bill that allows states to
yeah,
offer
exactly,
licenses to.
exactly. So I think that we are moving there. One thing about Nigeria is that we have to be kind of patient a bit. We not go from being a third world country to a first world country. We need like time. We're going to take like maybe 50 years from today.
50 years
Yeah,
from
yeah.
today.
Because look at, we're only producing like what, 7,000 megawatts. We need like 100,000. We need investment. We need billions of dollars in energy, transmission, distribution. We're going to take time. There's no shortcut to this thing. But at least what we want to see as a people is progress. Do you understand? We have to see progress. And hopefully, with this new president, he's been very active. We're hoping that we're going to see a lot of progress under Tinubu. Under Buhari, there was some progress. Look at the road, Lagos Ibadan, he completed that one, the railway projects, he did that. So he has done some things in terms of infrastructure. And we hope that this president can continue with that. So he's going to take it slow, painstakingly slow. And it's also the cost of governance is also part of what is making it even slower. Because if I'm a governor and I spend 90% of my money paying salaries, and only 10% left, how many roads can I do with 10%? How many things can I do with 10%? So, but now that they've removed the subsidy too, maybe they will not have more cash to also do more for the people.
Okay. Are you involved in politics behind the scenes, or you completely detest it?
I don't detest it. I mean, I ran for House of Rep one time, but they didn't give me a ticket for ACN then, messed around with me a little bit. But I don't think I really want to go back into that kind of thing, really. I just want to do my business and everything. But if possible, it's possible maybe a couple of years down the road, I might run for something. I don't know. Maybe I can run
So
for.
it's still within the purview
Yeah,
of
yeah.
thoughts.
Because I have ideas of what I think could happen or what I think should happen for Ogun State, for instance, or for even Nigeria. I have ideas in my head. I'm sure you do. Every Nigerian that's educated has ideas of if I was in this position, I would do this, I would do that. Everybody has their ideas. It's just a matter of whether God decrees for you to get to a position where you can actually do it or not. So it's not something that I will not rule it out, but I'm not actively seeking it at the same time.
Okay, I like that you've mentioned ideas. So, on a final note, Nigerians have ideas. There is no doubt about that. How do we completely, once and for all, because there are those that have said or predicted that if Nigeria does not get it right now, we might as well be doomed for life. So, how do we move from this realm of ideas, great ideas that we have about fixing Nigeria, to the realm of implementing these things, getting it to work, and then exploiting the full potential of Nigeria and putting it out there on the global map?
I think that one thing that we cannot, as a nation, keep doing politics 24/7. We've got an election and Tinubu has emerged president. There's some people who are not happy about that, who felt that maybe there was whatever, rigging and things like that. But the fact of the matter is, the opposition did not play smart politics. When APC wanted to take power from the PDP, they united. ACN, CPC,
CPC,
some
ANPP,
AFPP,
NPDP.
and some PDP came together to confront PDP, and they won. When PDP or the opposition wanted to take power from APC, they divided. I mean, Peter Obi was the VP to Atiku in
2019.
2019, just four
There
years
was
ago.
Labour Party,
You know,
NNPP, and then
now and then Kwankwaso was also in the PDP. Now the same three people, Atiku, Peter Obi, Kwankwaso, you divide yourself into three.
there are the G5.
And now the G5 also is so you see, so the opposition in Nigeria, you're not serious. You're not serious. The Peter Obi and those people, they're not serious. What are you talking about? You want to run against a ruling party. And instead of you to unite, Atiku gave you VP 4 years ago. No, I mean Atiku like, okay, give me VP again, no, I'll go with you. If you add Atiku's vote with Obi's votes, they win this election now. Unfortunately, the opposition have to understand that they played stupid politics. And their followers have to understand that their political leaders played stupid politics. And when you play stupid games, you're going to win stupid prizes. That's what happens. So now, let's just forget about it. Tinubu has won because of the stupidity of the opposition, their inability to be logical. It's about emotions here. You want to take power from the center, from the ruling party, you unite. You did the opposite. So now you've lost. Go and eat ice cream. Go and sit down. But Tinubu is not the president of Nigeria. Let's all come together now. Let's support the president of Nigeria, Tinubu, to move the country forward. Come 2027, yes, go and join your different camps and go against him again, no problem. But for now, we need all Nigerians to unite under Tinubu. Because we cannot keep playing politics all year round. There's a political season, and that season is over. And it means a winner has emerged and a winner has been sworn in. Let's all support the president so that the country can move forward, inshallah. That's my message.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lekan Abiola. It's been a pleasure. I think it's been roughly almost 40 minutes speaking to you. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.